I'm sorry that I couldn't be here personally, but I'm still very pleased to be speaking to you. I'm from the SPJIMR Institute of Management and Research, which is a top 5 business school in India, and we've also been pretty well rated in Asia, and we are in the top 100 in some of the global rankings also. Quickly to preface my talk, I just want to say that when you look at going global, it is a subject with so many dimensions that not all those dimensions can be addressed in 15 minutes. So what we will look at is some specific dimensions, and let me come to those dimensions first. So first of all, going global does not mean that you copy what Harvard does or you copy what MIT does. You have to find your own way of making an impact on the world. But to us, for the purpose of this presentation, what we are saying is being global in terms of impact. They could be global in terms of admissions, they could be global in terms of geographical presence. And to me, global in terms of impact means that there are things you are doing which are emulated or influencing education and management practice, not only in your own catchment or the country in which you operate, but across the world. And that means being innovative in ways that we schools and corporates from across the world can learn. Now, what does innovation mean in the context of a business school? To my mind, innovation must start with your own catchment, because as a business school, you operate in a society. That society has corporates, that society has other institutions. All those institutions need to improve the practice of management. They need theory for that, they need education for that. So every school, when it starts talking about innovation, must start with its own current stakeholders and leveraging strengths. That is one thing. Secondly, when we are talking about partnerships, and I'll just cite a simple thing here. To me, it is very important. Not all partnerships will start with complete exchange, a complete two-way relationship immediately. But to me, two-way mutual respect must be the foundation of a partnership. And I will give you one simple example. We've had examples of global schools visiting us, but wherever we have found that the approach of the school has been patronizing, those partnerships have not moved. Unless there is two-way respect and two-way understanding, we find that these things don't go beyond a certain point. So to sum up in terms of direction at this point in time, I will say the way we are looking at global is to say, how can I be locally relevant? And yet the work that I do, which is locally relevant, has global impact. Now, when we look at our school, I will talk about 3 to 4 things that we want to do. And in terms of management of today, there is the actual knowledge that we provide, but management is a practice-oriented subject. Therefore, we also need to equip people with skills, which is the doing component. And since those skills are human skills, that is, you have to listen to people, you have to converse with people, you have to be the kind of human being that people want to trust. So there is an element of attitude, and attitude is typically something you recruit for, but attitude is something you also develop. So a lot of our innovation that we are going to be talking about is with regard to the skills and attitude component, which is a differentiator that we have consciously built over an extended period of time. And I will talk about 3 or 4 differentiators that we look at when we are looking at our impact and how we can go global. And the first thing I want to talk about is non-classroom learning, which is to say that, and we will go into more detail on this, which is to say that how do you take young students and give them experiences outside the classroom from which they can have deep learning and take that deep learning into enhancing their own skills and attitude. And I will talk a little bit about this. This is something we've been doing for over 15 years with a lot of success now. Secondly, we have a very interesting program in our institute called the Family Business Program, where we have been training the second generation of family business owners. And this is a program that they do where they come to campus for 7 days once a month, and they do it over 18 months. Over the period of the last 15 years or so, we have trained over 3,000 family business owners. And this workshop, the whole family business program, which is a globally accredited program, the program concludes with a business plan that they make. And the idea is to really help take these family businesses to the next level. Similarly, we have a very strong social sector connect. So our MBA students, they do their corporate projects after 1.5 years, but at the end of the first year, instead of a conventional summer project in corporate India, they do a summer project in rural NGOs. Now, as a consequence, as an institute, we have very deep connections with family businesses. We have very deep connections with social sector. Now, this is what I mean when I say leveraging our strengths. There is a lot of interest among top schools to do action learning and field experiments inside companies. We plan to leverage the networks that we have and work with international researchers. Already we've had somebody like Anitesh Barua from Texas Austin. We're having faculty from London Business School and London School of Economics. And they're all coming to work with our faculty on action learning projects, and they will be training our faculty and working. So this is one aspect of collaboration, where you have certain opportunities that are interesting to create knowledge. You have certain domain expertise. You may not have the research methodology expertise. So you're borrowing it, you're getting trained in it, but you're collaborating as equals on those research projects and using that to kind of take it forward. So this is broadly the stage in terms of two directions that I'm going to talk about: non-classroom learning and research. I've spoken about research a bit. I'll talk about non-classroom learning. Now, when you look at non-classroom learning, I think two things. We also hire for attitude. So we have a team-based thing, because one of the things is that if somebody has an attitude built over 25 years, you can't change it in two. But if somebody has strong attitudes built over 25 years, you can strengthen it over two. The second is that if you have people with limited experience, they are not able to just take theory and relate to it. So they need to have experiences which they can reflect on, and that's what we are trying to design. So some research from Carol Dweck at Stanford, and what she did essentially was she took a group of school kids. Now all these school kids, she first gave them an easy set of problems to solve. All of them solved the problem. Now what she does is she takes half these students and she says, you solve the problems, you must be really good at problem solving, you must be very good at math. She goes to the other half and she says, oh, you solved the problems, you must have worked really hard. So she has primed one group for ability and she has primed one group for effort. Now what she does then is that she gives a set of challenges. And I'll give you one example. She gives both of them an impossible maths problem and she wants to see who gives up first. Now, interestingly, in all these cases, what you find is that when people are told that they have ability, it kind of gives them a fixed mindset. And when they confront a challenge, they tend to give up quickly. So, if I am told that I have ability and our ability is what makes me succeed, I don't want to take on difficult things, because if I fail, it means I don't have ability and then I have nothing to fall back on. If, on the other hand, I am told that effort is what matters, and ability is a muscle and ability can be grown through effort, then I'm much more willing to take risk, learn from failure. So this is the distinction that she makes between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And the large point of this is that the growth mindset is something that can be acquired. Now, what we have done is we have created, and there are many, but I'm going to talk about 4 things that we are doing in non-classroom. The first thing is what we do is when our students come in, within the first 1 month, they go through a personal growth lab where they go through a lot of experiential learning activities, creative outbound activities, they go through psychometric tools. And the idea here is that at the end of this exercise, they move from me to we. They are more aware of themselves, they are more aware of each other. So it is self-awareness and other awareness is the aspect of the growth mindset that we are trying to build. Second is our students also run parts of the institute, and this could be as simple as resolving hygiene issues in the cafeteria through committees. Now the students don't really have the power. They work with a faculty member to get this done. But what they learn through this is what we call influencing without power. Thirdly, each student of ours mentors a municipal school slum child through the whole of the first year. And what this teaches them is to see the world through the eyes of somebody else. And we will give you just a small example. Our students, when they go into this mentoring exercise, which is Abhyudaya, there are students who used to complain about the size of their hostel rooms. Now, when they go into the slums, they find that there is a whole family of 4 which is staying comfortably and happily in a room which is smaller than their hostel room. So what we are trying to do here is build compassion. Finally, there is a summer internship which is with rural NGOs, which involves going to the villages. The projects are unstructured. They have to stay in the same environments as the rural NGOs. So they acquire the ability to confront hardship, to structure unstructured problems. And what we are trying to do here is build resilience. And if you look at all of these, self and other awareness, influence without power, compassion, resilience, these are all really parts of this growth mindset. Now, so what we do now is we have converted this into a set of emotional intelligence parameters. We pre-measure these emotional intelligence parameters and then we post-measure these emotional intelligence parameters. And we are happy to tell you that not only when we look at it in terms of actually a statistical difference, we find a statistically significant difference. So we are able to, through these non-classroom initiatives, build the growth mindset in our students. This is supported by recruiter feedback. This is supported by what we get from our students themselves. So now the point that we are trying to make is something like this. When you look at being global, the question is, first build your unique differentiators. When you have unique differentiators and there are areas you need to have support, then you go to other institutions, and you may go to other institutions, first start sending your students there. But as they become aware of your strengths, you should be very clear that when you're looking at partnerships, partnerships are about exchange, influence and impact is two-way, and that is the way you build a global business school. I'll just, we're not going to talk about this anymore, but I will just give you an idea of the range of partnerships that we've already built. These are our global immersion program. Our MBA students go for 1 month. All our MBA students of 2 year and 1 year go for 1 month for advanced courses, and the kind of universities we are talking about: Johnson, Carnegie Mellon, University School of Business. And again, the emphasis is to, we have exchange, we have our students going, but also there are projects that we are talking about. There is our faculty teaching in their courses. They are interested in their non-classroom. So the idea is that when you get into a partnership with something substantive to offer from your own side, that is the way in which the partnership is based on mutual respect. And to us, that is the way you move towards being a global business school. I'm sorry I'm not here to take your questions, but I hope this has been interesting and useful. Thank you.
सपने सितारे के, this means the dream of Sitara. I am Afan Sheikh and I am 12 years old. I study in 8th standard on Nabudia and Masud. My mentor is very pretty and my relationship is very brothers and friends.
Till about 5 minutes before we met, I had no idea who my mentee is. He had no idea who I was. Here it's completely different. In a small 10 by 10 room, there's 4 people living. And what is essential is that they get along with each other. I've never seen a more supportive bunch of parents. They were like, you tell us what you want us to do. Just make sure that this boy gets to the top. The 4 of them, the kind of troubles they face, they're always smiling, the kind of respect they have for each other. He's a very different guy outside of home than when he's inside. The proper disciplined child. Always serious, always studying, always working. And once he's out, he's like a complete brat. I'll be honest. He's a ladies' man. He won't talk about it, but he ended up asking that girl's phone number.